has a TNA star been denied their release request? We'll talk about it. Plus, WWE bans a Hall of Famer from an AEW event, and a WWE talent is returning next week. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling News right now. So for the last few weeks, we've been talking about the unrest at TNA. This is following the sacking of former TNA president now, Scott D'Amore, with Anthem Entertainment taking more control over the company. Now, it was announced yesterday that Josh Alexander was staying with TNA Wrestling, but the wording of this announcement was unlike anything that we've seen before, because traditionally, when somebody stays with TNA, you get a thing that says so-and-so has re-signed with TNA. The wording's ambiguous. As opposed to announcing Alexander re-signing, it was announced that TNA exercised its option to extend the contract of Josh Alexander.
Yeah.
The press release from Anthony Ciccione says, Josh Alexander is still one of the most popular wrestlers in TNA wrestling history. We're thrilled to see that his run in TNA will continue. What did Josh say in the press release?
And again, this was in the press release, so this was kind of the more of the company line perhaps, but he said, with the rebranding and the return of those iconic letters, TNA, those letters that inspired me to get in the ring in the first place and chase this wild dream of being a wrestler. I've dreamt of that moment, being there at Hard to Kill, hearing those letters. I got a lot of work to do this year. I have to find some success because I think I'm more so than myself. The 15-year-old kid who was sitting on the couch never dreamt that this was possible, wouldn't believe that I could be TNA World Champion or X Division Champion, things that are still on my bucket list, but I know my son wants me to bring home some gold. So that's what he said. Maybe semi in character. I'm sure there's a lot of truth to that, but that's what he said in the company press release. But now we're going to delve into perhaps what's been a bit maybe going on behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, so Fightful Select reports, as the deal was 2 years ago with a company option year, TNA picked up an extension on Josh Alexander's deal. His current deal expires on February 14th, 2025. At that point, he will be a free agent unless another extension is reached. There were many speculating that Alexander's deal was extended as a result of injury time. Fightful Select have put the kibosh on that, saying that Alexander, whilst he was sidelined, was working backstage and as a producer, so the clock was therefore still ticking, to quote Fightful Select, on his contract. So it's not a case of they keeping him on to make up for time during his injury. What was interesting was when this announcement went out, Jay Chung, wife of Josh Alexander, TNA ring announcer, quote retweeted this announcement, simply saying TNA extended Josh's contract, full stop.
Yeah, it's not hooray. It seems a bit more flat, doesn't it?
I think I think with something like this, we're reading a lot between the lines on what we're seeing. The hourglasses from the TNA talent the other day is something that certainly got a lot of people talking. Fightful Select, however, have looked into the rumors about Josh Alexander maybe not wanting to stay in TNA.
Yes, they say, we'd heard some rumors internally that Josh Alexander had asked for his release prior. However, we're told that wasn't quite the case. Instead, Alexander had requested that TNA not pick up his option. He was open to negotiating a new deal, but he wanted to survey the landscape if possible. However, TNA did exercise the option, and there are no concerns from the company about Alexander meeting his contractual obligations and working hard while he's still there. But it does seem, well, again, we're reading into it, but for his wife to tweet that and the kind of the strange wording of the press release itself, specifying that they extended his contract, not saying Josh has re-signed. They say, oh, we've extended it. It all does seem a little bit strange, doesn't it? I've got no doubt that he's a pro and he'll continue to do good work.
100%. But it does feel like Josh Alexander was keen to explore new things. And TNA have said, well, actually, we've got this option to extend your contract. We're going to extend it. There's so much around this that you read between the lines on, because like initially there was a graphic that was uploaded that said Josh Alexander resigns. Then that tweet mysteriously disappeared and was replaced with the wording that we saw there.
Right.
Exercising its option to extend the contract of Josh Alexander, which To me, there's lots to read into there, I do think. It comes again, as we say, at a time where there is seemingly some unrest. We know that the TNA roster wrote an open letter to Anthem to explain their concerns and their hopes for the future with TNA since Scott D'Amore has gone. It's a story that we will keep an eye on at cultaholic.com. We can confirm that somebody is indeed working full-time for TNA, it seems, behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's a strange one. It's actually Ace Steel, he of Chicago wrestling scene and backstage AEW Hall of Fame.
Notable dog biter, Ace Steel.
He didn't bite a dog. Ace Steel was a guest on the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling podcast and confirmed that he is indeed working for TNA Wrestling as a producer. He praised the atmosphere and the backstage feel of TNA and revealed that he's also planning to open up a wrestling school in Orlando, Florida. He worked as a producer at Bound for Glory and Hard to Kill before taking up a more permanent role. I'm surprised. I thought that's been kept under wraps for quite a while.
He was very open about it.
Yeah, he was.
On the two-man Power Trip. Yeah, I'm working as a producer for TNA now. He's someone that has a lot of experience in producing wrestling. You know, so he's a good guy to keep on the books in that front. Also, what's the status of the grizzled young veterans? We've seen them in a fantastic best of 3 series with ABC over the tag titles. So a lot of people kind of got the indication that maybe they were part of the company. Well, Fightful Select gave an update on that and said that GYV are completely independent as of now. They haven't ruled out signing with TNA or going to AEW or even returning to WWE if it made sense. But for now, they're quite enjoying being independent. And I'm really enjoying them being independent.
Yes. This story took me a little bit by surprise. I just assumed that they'd signed with TNA as well, just because they turned up and they've been wrestling there quite regularly. But I guess the clue might have been that they didn't win the tag belts in that first match straight away in the I was predicting, I was like, oh, they're definitely going to win the belts. They're going to slap the belt straight on them and they're going to run wild over the tag division for a while as the new top heels. And it didn't happen. And now this makes maybe a little bit more sense as to why not.
Over to AEW we go, where a WWE Hall of Famer says he's been banned from attending an AEW event. Who are we talking about, Jack?
We're talking about Kevin Nash on his own Click This podcast. He talked a little bit about Sting's retirement match, which is set to take place at the next AEW pay-per-view, Revolution. And he said, Sting asked me to be a part of it. Now, when he says be a part of the match, I assume he means in attendance. Maybe he does like a ring walk with him or something. I don't think he means running in and booting Matt Jackson in the face. But he wanted him to be there, apparently.
I mean, Kev would probably be up for doing it.
Oh, yeah. If he receives a text beforehand letting him know. And apparently, Nash then replied to Sting and said, I just told him that because of my positioning within the company with WWE, I couldn't even be there if I went in the crowd. I think he just wanted me to be there because I was one of the guys that was with him for his whole run. And I think he was disappointed. And I was disappointed. And then he says he asked WWE. He said, I asked, you know, when you ask and there's that 3-4 second pause and you just realize, okay, it's not gonna happen effectively.
Yeah, and it's I would have thought that maybe there would have been some scope to have let Kevin Nash, who's not a WWE, maybe obviously he's on a WWE Legends deal, which suggests there's probably some grey area there. But I kind of feel like the fact that William Regal was able to get out of his AEW contract so early and go back to WWE, maybe WWE owes AEW a solid in that regard.
Yeah.
You'd have thought maybe, and just gone, hey, it's Kevin Nash. Go on, go see your mate.
Yeah, I would like for him to be allowed to. I'm assuming that Sting's going to have various people there. Obviously, Flair will probably be part of it, as he's been part of this sort of run towards the start of the retirement run anyway. And you've got to think that other key figures from Sting's past will be there.
Jeff Jarrett,
his
best mate, my best friend.
He's your
total
best
non-stop arsehole, Jeff Jarrett. He'll be there. Sting's lads will be there, no doubt.
Yeah, Sting's lads.
The boys will be there.
They're not like a new stable. That's his actual son.
Oh, they could be though.
Sting's lads
versus total non-stop arseholes.
Oh, no.
Yes. Tell Jeff. Come on, Jeffrey. But I imagine as many people from Sting's past they can get, they'll have around the ringside area.
Yeah, I hope so.
You know, to be a part of that final show. One person who has previous with Sting is Booker T. Now, he won't be part of AEW, the retirement match for Sting at Revolution, but he will be back behind the commentary desk very soon.
Yes, he will, because he unfortunately had to step away a couple of weeks ago due to an undisclosed medical procedure and has missed the last few weeks of NXT TV. But on his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker gave an update and said, I'm coming back strong in about 1 week. I had a doctor's appointment this week just to make sure everything is all clear, everything's healing up real good, which is a big relief because whenever someone steps away and it's not disclosed why, you often sort of fear the worst or think, oh, they could be gone for ages, this could be really bad. So it's really good news to see that Booker's back again in about, he says, 1 week's time.
Shucky Ducky and or quack Booker T. On the podcast feed, I had a lovely chat yesterday with Michael Oku.
I saw the snippet that we released on social media and I really enjoyed that's got me hooked already, so I can't wait to listen.
Thank you very much for the endorsement. I appreciate it.
I've never met him. He seems like a really lovely guy.
Oku's great. So Oku had a banger of a match against Will Ospreay at Rev Pro High Stakes over the weekend.
I'm worried that I've met him and I've just said that there. If I've met you, Michael, I'm so sorry. you know, you just meet loads of wrestlers.
He's done a few shows for us at North. He's been a lovely presence at North on a few occasions.
I just may have met him elsewhere in my pre-Cultaholic life, but I don't think...
So we're not being big leagued by Jack the Jobber. Michael Oku is the undisputed British heavyweight champion of Rev Pro. Picked up a huge win over Will Ospreay. Rave reviews. Dave Meltzer loved it. Tony Khan loved it. So we talk about the building of a match like that. We get really inside baseball on it. We talk about the crucial roles played by Michael Oku's better half, Amira. We talk about the tributes paid to Mad Kurt in that match, the late Curtis Chapman. I try to get out of him what he and Tony Khan spoke about backstage. They had a chat backstage. They had a nice chat backstage, which is exactly what Michael Oku says, a nice chat. I try to get out of him what they said, but he wouldn't tell me.
But I'm sure it's packed full of good stuff.
There's lots of other good stuff that we chat about as well. It's always a pleasure to get Michael Oku on the podcast.
I've come to the horrific realization that we were both at the same karaoke event after Thunderstruck, North Wrestling Thunderstruck, and I was quite drunk, and I'm like, maybe I did meet him, maybe I did say hello. So I'm so sorry.
Apologies to Michael.
He's gonna hit me with that bloody. That thing, that Mad Kurt move.
Oh, the Sega Mega Driver. Oh, you got one of them in your future. Or he's just put you in the half crab.
Just lock me in a tight half crab.
For 3 days.
He is the master of the half crab.
I do recommend you seek that match out, by the way, Will Ospreay, Michael Oku. It is 47 minutes and it's incredible. Rev Pro on demand, you can watch it on there. It's stunning work, and it was so exciting to actually chat to Michael Oku about the building of that match. It's on the podcast feed, and if you're a Patreon, as a thank you, you can watch the video version of it on there as well. Anything you want to plug?
Well, unfortunately, I won't be twitching tonight. Owen Mawson has booked a few days off, the lucky so-and-so.
Oh, what's he up to now?
I bloody know.
He's in a caravan in Breen.
But because last week I took charge of our first stream with the Swans, we've moved teams obviously, and I took charge last week, and I didn't want to do 2 weeks without Owen. He's not even met the new lads yet. He's not even met the dressing room. So I'd like to wait this week, and then next week hopefully we can both pilot the Swans together.
Piloting the Swans together. But you do have 9 pitches on the channel later today.
We do have 9 pitches coming up for Elimination Chamber, and also all the coverage this week that you'd expect of us from Elimination Chamber itself, such as what happened at WTF Moments, predictions is going on as well, all the stuff for Saturday's big Perth Bonanza.
And for the latest wrestling news throughout your day, you can check out cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.